Education professionals across Trinidad and Tobago, citizens, good evening to you. From March 2020 to now, we have been, as a country, as the world, devastated in some ways, affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. As our schools closed in March, our education professionals sprung into action, trying to put emergency measures in place to continue the interaction with their students, to continue the teaching learning process. So once again, as president of TUTOR, on behalf of the officers of TUTOR, I salute all of our education professionals at congratulations on the work you've done, and thank you for your service to your students and to Trinidad and Tobago. And we know it has come at great personal sacrifice for many of us, impacted our work-life balance and our well-being. And we will touch on that. This evening, the national officers just want to share a few thoughts with you. So with me, I have the third Vice President, Mr. Darren Lehim, the Tobago officer, Mr. Braden Roberts, the second Vice President, Ms. Curla Robertson Thomas, and the Industrial Relations Officer, Mr. Kerry Brooms. Very quickly, what we've realized is that there has been a level of what we would term institutionalized disrespect from the Ministry of Education, where we continue to hear announcements about initiatives and policies without those initiatives and policies first being discussed with the union. On Saturday, the 9th of October, TUTOR received an invitation to meet with the Minister of Education to discuss the reopening of schools for forms 1 to 3 students. That was the agenda, very, very broad. And so in a bid to have some perspectives and positions, we held an emergency general council meeting in preparation for today's engagement. And we will share the outcomes of those discussions in a while. Permit me, though, to just give an update on what transpired at that meeting today. We had present both ministers of education, and we appreciate their taking the time off from their national duties in Parliament to meet with the association. The meeting started at 3 p.m., and one of the first things TUTOR asked, what exactly is the plan for the unvaccinated students of Forms 4, 5, and 6 who have to meet the requirements for the submission of projects, practical data, practical projects for their CXC's examinations, CSEC and CAPE examinations? Didn't quite get a straight answer to that. So then we asked, what exactly is the plan for the unvaccinated students of Forms 1 to 3 who may very well be sitting examinations, NCSC examinations in 2022? Didn't get a straight answer to that either. Basically, as far as the Ministry of Education is concerned, the Ministry of Health has indicated, let us start returning vaccinated students to school. It's the safest way, and then we will take the others. It's one step at a time. Colleagues and parents, I don't know if that is good enough for us as educators, if that is good enough for us as parents, to simply hear that our children's future hangs in the balance, to simply hear, as we indicated at our General Council meeting yesterday, that we have the promotion of academic inequity through state policy, and unfortunately, with no clear plan as to how our students would be treated in the very near future. So we did not really seek to argue any points. We made certain submissions, And I will invite the Tobago officer at this time to share some perspectives from our meeting. Mr. Braden Roberts.
Right. Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, all. I actually left today's meeting with a bitter taste, observing the high-handed, insensitive approach adopted with the measures that have been rolled out now. It serves to pose as a posture for war. But let me just say, casualties of such a war would be the same persons we are standing to protect, which would be the students. Our teachers who are stressing out, and we are advocating for them as well, they are stressing out because they cannot simply turn off their care and adopt a similar insensitive approach towards the children who are not being catered for in this rollout by the ministry. TUTA cannot simply just throw out set positions to the ministry, which would have been explained to them already. TUTA clamored on several occasions for a working group that can derive plans that we can compromise and work along. However, the ministry seems to be steadfast. They have the agenda, which doesn't seem to be working towards enhancing the quality of education. And it's amazing how TUTA is in this fight, trying to protect the things that the ministry should be leading the charge in. So in this regard, I'm asking all stakeholders, citizens, we are standing for us all. And it's time that we all stand in solidarity and support what the association is representing here. We are representing equal opportunity, equal education for all. Any inequality would result in further burnout of our teachers. We are fully aware, I'm certain the ministry is fully aware that a teacher cannot just flip a switch and stop caring for the majority, especially in Tobago space, will be the majority of students who will not get quality or any sustainable access to education. And I would have mentioned the word sustainable. We need to have a working group with the ministry. That was put on the table. If we work together, we will derive a sustainable plan moving forward. Not 1 month and 3 month guidelines. And something happened down the road, we do a different guideline for another 2 or 3 months. Something more sustainable needs to be developed. The pandemic here, COVID will be with us for some time. But the measures, these political measures, and there will be a price to pay. Currently, children are paying that price. How is it that we are calling our children, our innocent children, who don't really have a voice at this time, to pay for such a political decision being taken? So parents, principals, all stakeholders, we ask, pay attention, actively pay attention in this fight as we stand solidly in defense of education forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roberts. We know how invested we are in our students. Educators take their students' welfare to heart. And now that we are faced in a scenario where we have to carry out a policy that disenfranchises students, the General Council of TUTOR has taken the following decisions. We need to have priority given to upper school students who are preparing for examinations. TUTOR therefore calls for the discontinuation of face-to-face classes for all students of forms 4 and 6, except for those students who are required to attend classes to complete the practical components for the high-stakes examinations. TUTOR also at this time categorically disagrees with the reopening of physical school for forms 1 to 3 in a manner that will create a higher level of inequity and disproportionate hardship for students. That kind of policy is creating frustration and stress for teachers who've already gone above and beyond. And we do believe that we need to have additional support given to our members and to seek after their welfare. Permit me to invite Mr. Darren Lehan, our third Vice President, with responsibility for benefits and welfare of members to address you now. Mr. Leham.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Good afternoon to my fellow officers and all those who are in the listening public. Our teachers have been burned out. They are balancing monitoring their children at home and their students who are logged on. Our teachers are also parents. They have their children at home who are online, doing their learning online. They have to monitor them whilst they are being taught at home. And they also have to attend to their charges, their students who are logged on and carrying on classes at the same time. So they have to balance both lives there. As a parent, as a teacher, their tanks are running low. They're on fumes. It's becoming harder daily for them in such an environment. The MOE has made teachers into acrobats as they have to balance teaching face to face, then run home to teach those who are online, and also prepare packages for those who are not as fortunate as some to have the facility of internet and have a device that they can log in and benefit from the online classes. Teachers are becoming mentally drained as they continue to operate in the virtual realm and dealing with this pandemic. The pandemic is here, it's not going anywhere soon. We have a new variant, and as the medical professionals would have indicated last week, there are many traits, alpha, beta, gamma, that are coming into the on the scene. So we have to deal with that. TUTA has trained, we have 10 members in our association who were trained as peer counselors. They would have been taught the basic skills in peer counseling. And this program should start by the November 1st, 2021. And we are hoping that we can lend some support through this system to our members who can contact these persons and have them listen and guide them accordingly so that our teachers don't get that mental breakdown. Teachers, we still have EAP. It's there. It's available. At any point in time, when you feel that you have the urge to speak to someone, please reach out. Reach out to a colleague, reach out to your officers, reach as much as you can, reach out to someone and have that conversation with them so that you would not have that mental breakdown and you will not be, you would not get sick because when you look at it now, you're seeing where a lot. I mean, I'm in it, I'm seeing our Unimed claims. Within the last year, you can see where our members have been visiting doctors regularly because they are stressed out. They're stressed out, right? So I'm appealing to you, whatever avenue you can explore, please do so that you do not suffer that mental breakdown, right? So thank you very much, Madam Pres.
Thank you, Mr. Lehim. And it's funny that it appears that no consideration or little consideration was given to the socio-economic factors of students and their families, to the welfare of students and their families. Because we have students who've returned and who are projected to return. We don't know about transportation being provided for them. There's no clear action yet on the resumption of the school feeding program. So, what really are you doing? What really are we doing, Trinidad and Tobago? Last week, we observed World Teachers Day, and the theme was teachers at the heart of education recovery, because that's where it starts. But it cannot be that, as apparently was expected, teachers would find ways to do all sorts of things and use a blended approach. Unfortunately, we had to debunk that idea in the meeting this evening. And so I would invite Industrial Relations Officer Mr. Kerry Brooms to inform our members of tutor's position, the decision of the General Council matter as far as returning to school, secondary schools. Mr. Brooms.
Thank you, Comrade President. Good afternoon, comrades. Roughly 18 months ago, schools were closed and children were not being educated. Tutor and teachers would have gone along with what was the best solution at the time, which was emergency remote engagement. Even then, we signaled to the ministry and to the employer that we would need to have negotiations about these things. Yet we continued on in the interest of the children, because despite what is said in the public, teachers are caring professionals. So we fast forward now to October 2020, when on a fateful Friday afternoon, the minister announces in Parliament that within the next 2 weeks, students will be returned. Students of forms 1, 2, and 3 will be returned to the physical classroom. TUTA had no previous knowledge of this. We found out with the rest of the nation, even as the recognized majority union. Now, that is not how a marriage should work, but that's what happened. So when the General Council met in a lengthy session last night, the position is that if the MOE insists, and I stress on the word insists because our flagship position is that we should not physically go out to school at this time. However, if the MOE insists that we go back out to school, that is the secondary schools from forms 1 to 6, then we must revert to operating strictly within our terms and conditions of work. And we must cease all emergency engagements. Now, the minister wanted us to make it very clear to our members and to the public, of course, that we are saying that it is TUTA and our membership who are saying that we will not be engaged in emergency remote engagement. You see, it works like this. If we are doing something because of an emergency, when by the actions of the minister and the Ministry of Education, you have signaled very strongly that the emergency no longer exists, then we must revert to what obtained before. The General Council or TUTA says that we demand to be part of a sustainable education system which engages the needs of all educators. And we are saying very clearly that we are willing to have discussions, meaningful consultation with the Ministry of Education, and we must have negotiations with the employer on the way forward. But until such time, it is of advice to our membership that in secondary schools, that all remote engagements must cease as long as we return to physical school for forms 1 to 6. I say again, TUTA is not obstructionist. We have a responsibility to our membership and to the education system, because I don't think it's well documented how much stress has been placed on education professionals trying to straddle both systems. We will continue to be united and resolute in our approach to this situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brooms. So secondary school teachers, you go and you do your jobs. And you do your jobs as you're supposed to, according to your terms and conditions. Your job is not to make it work. So we look forward then to continued engagement with our members. This is not only a fight or an issue affecting educators, these policies affect our students. So as we wrap up, the meeting was short this afternoon, all of 28 minutes, but TUTOR made its point clear. And I will invite our second Vice President, Mrs. Curla Robertson Thomas, to close off our conference this afternoon.
Good afternoon, comrades. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, nation. As my comrades before have indicated, this is where we are. TUTOR recognizes the commitment. We know the heart of our teachers, our Schedule 3 members. We know that some are placed in places where they may not always agree with what is taking place, but they carry out their duties. We know that teachers and all our educators, no matter where they are, have continued to rally around the system. And we know that educators like to think of the children, the child, that one child, those 10 children. But today we remind you that the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association is a trade union. And we have a mandate, and that mandate is to protect the rights of our members while giving them the support that they need to go through this particular storm. And we will continue to do that viciously, guardedly, to ensure that their just due is met and that we can carry out what we need to, because we are also citizens of this republic, and we do not want any of our future generation to suffer at our hands. But policies have to be properly instituted to ensure that those rights are not overwhelming our members at this time who are sinking. We are sinking, and people out there who have the power to fix it seem not to understand or to care. Or even if they do, they are not showing that. And we are tired of being in the middle of a political football. Come to us with something that is workable. Comrades, listen for your union. We wish you good evening, good night, and in the few weeks to come, we will continue to rally with you.